Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be installing Fooocus, or Fooocus, whichever way you want to call it. And this version is going to be the SDXL version 1. I personally think that this is the best image generation tool that you could use at the moment, especially with all the Stable Diffusion 3 drama that came out. I'm going to show you guys how to do this in the most basic terms possible and go really slow. So with that said, let's just jump right into the video. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on the link down below in the description, the very first link up above. It's going to be the link to the GitHub page for Fooocus. Once you click that link, it's going to bring you to this page. Once you're here, you're just going to want to scroll all the way down past this photo of the elves and keep going, right down till you see the word download in big bold letters here. And then right below that, you're going to see click here to download in blue. So go ahead and click on that. And that's going to download a RAR file of Fooocus. Now, depending on how fast your internet is, it may take a while, it may take really quick, but it is a 2 gig RAR file, so make sure you have something to open it like WinRAR or 7-zip. But once it's done, all you got to do is just extract it to any folder that you want. So once you have extracted it to any folder you want, this is what's going to be inside of there. So you're going to see a folder for Fooocus, you're going to see a folder called Python Embedded, run anime, and run realistic. Now this is another reason why I really like Fooocus, is because it doesn't require Python, so it's all embedded and it works great. It's also a lot faster, so if your computer is not the best, this is probably the image generation tool that you want to use. But let's go ahead and double click on run realistic. You could run these two as well. I think each one needs to be run anyway, but I only ever really use run realistic, and it doesn't really matter, mostly because once you open one of these, it lets you choose between run, anime, or realistic once you get into the program anyway. So just for the purpose of this tutorial, let's just open run realistic. Now you're going to see a black box open. For you, it's going to be open for a while. For me, it's already open and the software is running. But for you, you're still going to see this black box, and it's going to be running for quite a while just because it's going to be installing all of the prerequisite files that it needs. And that might take up to 20 minutes. I forget how long it took me, but you'll know that it's finally done once it opens up Fooocus in one of your tabs. So once it's done, and you see Fooocus opened in one of your tabs, this is the main hub of where everything is. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's very basic and very easy to see and use. Down here, you're going to type in your prompts. So anything you want to type in to see, that's where you type that in. You click the generate button, obviously. Now, before we do any of that stuff, I'm going to show you all of the settings in the advanced tab, which is pretty cool, and it's really going to help you get the best out of the photos that you want to make. So by clicking the advanced tab, it opens up all of this stuff over here. So right at the top, there's presets. By selecting one of these things, it's going to change all of these other settings in here. So I'm not going to really touch upon that too much. I mostly just leave it to whatever you open it as. See, like over here, I could change it back to anime or default. You could play around with all these settings. I don't really touch any of these. I mostly just leave it on realistic. You could pretty much get anything that you want out of realistic. Most images you can get just off the realistic setting. The performance is going to be chosen based off of how good of a computer you have or how detailed you want the photo. Obviously, putting it on quality will give you the best looking photos, but will also take the longest to generate. Speed is another good one. It gives you a pretty decent quality photo, but won't take as long to generate as quality, and so on and so on. It just gets way faster to generate something. If you want something of substance, I would say between extreme speed or speed. If you're feeling like it's taking a long time to generate on quality, I would just go to like extreme speed maybe. Lightning maybe. I find lightning and hyper SD, once you go down over here, it's going to be generating photos really fast, but it's also going to be making the photo really muddy. So I try to stay away from that unless you're really desperate. The next thing over here is aspect ratio. So aspect ratio is pretty self-explanatory. It's just the size of the photo. You could play around with all different types of sizes. Like for me, I make a lot of album art, so I like to use 1024 by 1024, which is like just a square, and that's really good for making different types of album art. The number of images over here, this is just how many images you want to generate at once. If you're struggling with your computer and it's being really slow when generating, I recommend just staying between 2 or 3, maybe even 1, just to see. Because if you go to 32, it's just going to be generating photo after photo, and it's just going to slow your computer down a lot. So just leave it around over here if you're having issues. Output, I don't really touch. I leave it on PNG, but you also have the option for JPEGs and WebP. Negative prompt. The negative prompt is exactly the opposite of your prompt. Things that you don't want to show up in the photo, you put them into the negative prompt. So it gives you some default ones just off the bat. Sometimes if you're trying to make an amateur looking realistic photo, you may want to remove some of these that are in here. But these are a pretty good baseline. I never really touch these. I kind of just leave them in here. Let's say, for example, you want to generate a photo of somebody, and for some weird reason, it's putting wings on them, and you don't want wings. Well, over here, you just come down over here and just add the keyword wings, and hopefully that it learns. All right, so this is the Models tab. The Models tab is probably the most important tab in all of Fooocus, mostly because the brains of the operation are all right here. So you got your base model right up here, and you got your LoRa's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all down over here. The base model is the main component here. It's the model that's going to be generating your photos off of. So it's using one of these, whatever you have loaded in here, as the model that it's using to generate whatever prompt you write in here. The model that you're probably seeing and the one that you have probably loaded right now is realistic stock photo. That's the default one I believe it comes with. So that one was a model that's probably, just by the name alone, realistic stock photo, probably trained on a bunch of realistic stock photos. And so any prompt that you put down here will look like a stock photo because of it. A LoRa is, the best way to describe a LoRa, honestly, is if a base model is a video game, a LoRa is an add-on to that game or a mod to that game. Anything that you add into the LoRa should help or add to the base model that you have up here. And the best way that I could possibly describe that and give you an example of that is if we go and we download our own models and our own LoRa's right now. So this is Civitai. It is probably the biggest place on the internet to download models and LoRa's and just look at other photos that you like for inspiration. It's completely free to use. All you got to do is just go ahead at the top right and create an account. Once you have made your account, you'll be able to see all the models, all the images, and the reason why I'm in incognito mode at the moment is because there is a lot of photos that I cannot show on YouTube once you're logged in. All the not safe for work stuff pops up, and I just can't show that. So you're going to see a lot of images that I don't see. But once you do make that account, and once you're in here, and you could just scroll through freely, you're going to want to click on Models at the top left up here. Once you show Models, you're going to come to the right where it says Filters, and you're going to filter, and you're going to want to make sure that the base model is selected as SDXL 1.0 because that's the version that you have. And then once you do that, you could even check off checkpoint right here. A model is also known as a checkpoint. So that way, what you're seeing is just the models for the time being. I recommend getting a model that you think, obviously, you want to delve into, whether that's anime or realistic. Choose something that you think is the style that you want to go with. But if you're looking for a model that is good for all-around use, I recommend Epic Realism XL right over here. It's just a nice overall model. So you could actually open this and you could see that there's all these different versions up here. I'm currently using version 7, Final Destination, but there's a new version, version 8, which I probably should download. So I'm actually going to do this with you. So I have version 8 selected up here. Make sure that the latest version is the one that you have. And then if you want, you could even scroll down to see what other people are making with this model. So all of these things in the gallery are all photos that were generated using this model. And as you can see, some of the photos look really, really cool. Not just cool, but ultra realistic. Once you decided that this is the model that you want to download, you want to go over here where the download button is, click download, and it will download. Now these models are fairly large. They're about 6.5 gigs per model, at least on average. So it may take you a while to download. Alright, so once the download is complete, what you're going to want to do is come back to your Fooocus folder, the initial folder that we ran it from, and then open up Fooocus, and then inside Fooocus you're going to go to Models over here, and inside Models you're going to find the Checkpoints folder, and Checkpoints is essentially where you're going to put all of your models that you download. So take the one that you just downloaded and just stick it right into there. And you should be all set. Now, even if it's still running, you don't really have to even worry about shutting it down. You just got to come back here and click on Refresh All Files, and that should find it. And there it is, Epic Realism XL Kiss, and that's the latest version. So now, if we go ahead and we generate that, I forgot to mention actually, what we should do is turn off this LoRa. It should put this as default for you as well. Let's just go ahead and click None for that. So the 3 images are done, and these photos look pretty nice, not gonna lie. These look pretty realistic, but now I want to show you what a LoRa could do. So if you want to download a LoRa, just come up here to Filters on Civitai, and make sure that the LoRa model type is selected, and then you could uncheck Checkpoint. That way you're only seeing LoRas. Feel free to download any one you want. You could even search up here, but keep in mind that you don't need a LoRa to make the model work. This is just completely optional. So once you have your LoRa downloaded, it does not go into the same folder as the models. It goes into a different folder altogether. So inside of Fooocus, inside of Models folder, there is a folder called LoRas. Just throw them all into there. I downloaded this LoRa for Nick Cage SDXL. This is a LoRa that turns people into Nicolas Cage. The weight is essentially how much you want to push this LoRa onto the image. So a weight of 1 is the default weight. If I put 2, it's going to just apply this times 2. If I put it to 0.5, it's going to just only do it at 50%. This is 25%, 20%, and so on. So I'm just going to go with 1 because that's the default one. And now that we have this in here, I'm going to replace the word man with Nicolas Cage just to give it a little bit of oomph. So we have a close-up of Nicolas Cage sitting on a bench. And I'm going to go ahead and click generate, but we're still missing something. And I just want to show you guys what it's going to look like without that extra thing. So all 3 photos are done, and even without this extra thing that we could have added that I'll show you guys in a second, it still comes up as pretty good photos. I mean, look, these are actually Nicolas Cage photos. To me, they look fine. They're not too horrible. But that's what a LoRa could do. That's what the LoRa is doing right now. It's using this as a base, but adding in Nicolas Cage as well. But we are forgetting one little thing. Well, let's go back to Civitai to see what that is. So here is the place where I downloaded the Nicolas Cage LoRa. Every single LoRa will come with trigger words, and now these trigger words are made so that when they're put into the prompt, the LoRa knows to utilize itself because you added the trigger words. Now this LoRa's trigger words are Nick Cage person, so I didn't use those in the initial prompt, but if I put them in now, it should actually use this LoRa way better. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So here we have 3 photos of Nicolas Cage. To me, they look much better. I don't know about you guys. These actually look like a screen grab from a movie that he might have been in. So that's pretty awesome. So that just goes to show that using a LoRa with a base model can really help improve the quality of a photo. But just remember to always use the LoRa trigger words, because if it's not working, that might be why it's not working. Alrighty, so this is the Styles tab, and the Styles tab is probably my favorite tab inside of Fooocus. It has all these different styles and variations that you could play around with, and I've actually not used all of them. It's impossible. There's just too many different things to play around with. Now, the 3 that it starts you off on, Focus Photograph, Focus V2, and Focus Negative, these are the default options. But if you want to play around with anything, you could just unselect these and just select anything you want. There's graffiti, there's retro game, there's glitchcore, and basically what these things are going to do is whatever prompt you put in here, it's going to put it into this style. So let's say, for example, you want a photo of a man flying through the air, right? So we have a prompt of a photo of a man flying through the air, but we want it not just in the regular style, we want it in something that's a little more cartoony. Well, there's so many different options down over here. Look, there's even Game Mario, so it makes photos of the game of Mario. We got all these different things, origami. Man, I don't even know which one to choose. So let's just go ahead with art style graffiti. It's going to make a graffiti style photo of a man flying through the air. So it looks like it made 3 different photos of a man jumping in front of a wall of graffiti. But these are very realistic looking photos of men jumping in front of a wall. So maybe this art style was just made to make a wall of graffiti, and then whatever it generates in front of it is real. So that's not what I was really looking for. Let's try something else. Oh, here's one for the game of GTA. So this is actually going to generate a photo that looks like it could be in the game GTA. So let's try that. Now this is what I'm talking about. This looks so cool. This actually looks like Trevor from, or not Trevor, Michael from Grand Theft Auto 5. And it looks like, this actually just looks like a cool Grand Theft Auto cover art that you could just play around with. A man, and all we typed in was a photo of a man flying through the air. So just, honestly, just playing around with all these settings is fun in itself. And there are just so many of them that it's impossible to go through all of them. And they're constantly adding new ones with every single update to Fooocus, which is really, really cool. But yeah, that's what styles are. So hopefully this video showed you the basics of how to install and use Fooocus. I plan to do more stuff like this, more in-depths into certain areas like prompting techniques and different models that do different things and various stuff like that. So if you guys want to learn anything more, if you guys have any questions, please let me know down in the comment section below. Don't be afraid to subscribe, like, and comment, and we'll see you guys in the next one.